Hello and welcome to the show today. So look, I suspect that your brand authority sucks. Well, maybe it doesn't suck, but it's probably not what it should be. And today we're going to dive in and talk about that because you need to, as a company and individually, you've really got to get your brand on point, because when you do that, then people want to do business with you and it changes the whole dynamic. You're not trying to sell people. People are really trying to get to you and want to do business with you. And it all comes down to purely developing the right brand. So with us today is Curt Mercadante. I knew I was going to mess it up, but I think I got it right. He helps businesses and entrepreneurs increase their authority, brand exposure for the right clients so they can make more money. For 25 years, he's counseled small business owners, entrepreneurs, as well as some of the largest corporations and associations in the country. He's built 3 profitable businesses, including a 7-figure public relations and advertising agency. And he is a Gallup-Certified Strengths Trainer, host of the Freedom Mindset radio podcast, and author of the best-selling book, 5 Pillars of the Freedom Lifestyle. Curt, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Ty. Happy to be here.
All right, so let's talk about business branding, man, because we all suck at it. I do. Maybe everybody else will admit to it. I admit. So why don't we talk a little bit more? I mean, what really in your mind develops or classifies a business brand?
Yeah, very simply, I work with clients, entrepreneurs, and executives and some businesses, or some larger businesses, to help them deliver the right message to the right clients to generate more revenue. I mean, when you break it down to its foundational level, that's what a brand is. Unfortunately, a lot of people hear brand and they're like, oh, my logo, my website, my color scheme, how many likes, views, and shares I get. But I got to tell you, I've gotten a lot of likes, views, and shares on social media. I try to take them to my bank, and the bank wouldn't take them. And so it's really, you got to really clearly identify, who do you serve? And there's a lot of people who are like, I'm so wonderful. My experience is great. I got bells, whistles. I got this idea for a wonderful product. Okay, well, I'm glad you think that, but is there a market for it? Who? You got to start with the who. So getting down really, really specific about who wants, who needs what you serve. Get really specific. I have 5 pages of questions I work with my clients on. Who do you serve? Not just industry, not just type of person, but gender, age, religion. Are they married? Are they faith-based? Are they a fan of like a Robert Kiyosaki or like a Dave Ramsey? Different mindsets, right? Are they, what do they listen to? Do they watch Shark Tank? Do they listen to, and these days you can follow them on Facebook and find out everyone's mindset, their lot in life, their behaviors. These are important in terms of influencing not only their buying and their purchasing behavior, but the type of person who wants what you provide. Start there.
That makes perfect sense. I love that. And what do you think it's important to have a clear business brand?
Start with the what. Start with, so most business owners, and I've been guilty of this, our inclination is to a potential client comes up and they say, what do you do? How does it work? And what do you cost? And either we tell them, right? And we focus on the process or how the sausage is made, or we do what I like to call is verbally vomit all of our potential clients with our bells, our whistles, our resume, our experience, how much we love our product, all these things, when really all they want to know is, what's in it for me? I give you money. What do I get in return? Now, doesn't mean they don't like you as a person. They don't have empathy for as a human being. But if you're asking someone for money, I don't care how much they like you. They want to know what's in it for me. It's not about you. And if you keep the focus on them and what they want and go in, instead of saying the how and the process and my bells and whistles, I call it an impact story. Some people call it value proposition. But if you look up proposition in the dictionary, there's some things that don't have a great connotation. But impact story, in one sentence, clearly, what is the positive impact your clients get from working with you? It's not the how. It's not your job title. It's not your bells. It's not your whistles. What do they walk away with when they give you money?
Makes perfect sense. When you figure that out and develop a brand, how do you really think that honestly helps with business growth?
So I have a client who came to me this last year, and he's not my client persona, but he found me on LinkedIn, found my content, and he was sort of out of desperation. He's an elite personal trainer. He's 40 years old in Chicago, and his gym shut down when they locked down. He's got an expensive rent to pay in Chicago. He's got a girlfriend. I don't know if they want to get married, all these things. And he's like, I got to survive. So there's no other gyms open. What am I going to do? I got to build a business. Said the only reason he hired me was because I wasn't a branding coach who focused on, hey, what's your logo look like in your website? I actually talked about generating revenue with what it's all about. If your brand isn't designed to generate revenue, I'm sorry, you're wasting your money. We started with, what do they want? He went on and asked his customers, what is it you want from me? Like, why do you work with me? Like, why did you hire me? It wasn't to lose 10 pounds. It wasn't to get your waist to a specific inch. It wasn't, I want to deadlift this or lift this. It was, some of them were, you know what? I have quarantine. I gained a little weight during quarantine. I just want my suit to fit. I have a little pain in my back because I'm sitting a lot more. And I just want it to go away. You know what? I really like it if that red dress fit for Christmas. The impact that came back was they just want to look better, feel better, and move better. They don't want to compete. They don't want to, that it's not like, I'm going to help you lift more. I'm going to help you, you find out. So he went and asked what they want. And then we looked at, of your 18 clients, which one of them are your ideal clients? And he looked, there was only 2 of 18. And who were they? What common denominators did they have? Interesting. They were all high achieving executive women between the age of 55 and 65, all divorced, and they happen to be Jewish. Now you'd be like, what, why does that matter? Well, it's the area he's selling into. He provides companionship to some of these women. There's a whole variety of reasons, but when you start with the who and specifically what they want, and if you have existing clients, go ask them what they want. It might be a lot different than what you think they need. Just go ask them, what do you want? Why did you hire me? I do that with all my clients, and I would say almost to a person, the answer they get is different what they thought it was.
How do you do this? I mean, what are some tips to really build a successful brand?
Yeah. So, it starts with your ideal client, really getting down to who that is. What do they look like? What are their lot in life behaviors, et cetera? Get really specific. Then you reverse engineer it to find out what do they want, that impact story. So you have those two things. Then you look at, okay, what's my process to, in the shortest, simplest, straightest line, deliver that impact story message to those ideal clients on a regular basis? What we often do is we start with the tools and the tactics. Well, Jimmy over there is using Instagram, so that must mean I got to use Instagram. Well, Jimmy's selling shoes. I'm selling high-end consulting. Maybe it's not going to work, right? Are my clients there? I did a workshop once and a guy came up to me and he was like selling medical device equipment and wheelchairs and things. And he's like, well, you're killing it on LinkedIn. You're crushing it on LinkedIn. Can you show me how to use LinkedIn? I said, well, my first question is why? Why do you want to be on LinkedIn? Because you're killing it on LinkedIn and you're making money there. Are your clients there? Well, I don't know. Well, that might be a good thing to find out. You find out where your clients reside, where they reside online. Hell, maybe direct mail is the way. There's still people doing direct mail to people with great success. Maybe direct mail is the way to get them. Edward Jones sends people door to door. Maybe in a pandemic year, that's not a great idea. You find out the best way to get your message to those people, and you do it every single day to build consistent communication, authentic communication. I come on podcasts like yours, people who work with other business owners who are who need to build a brand. Are there podcasts I could do that make me feel good and get a lot of views? Yeah, but I'm focused on making money. I want to make money for my company because I want to take care of my family. And so I want to find out where my ideal clients are, what they want, and just deliver them that message every single day. The easiest way. I'm lazy. I don't want to waste money. Bruce Lee said, it's not about the daily increase. It's the daily decrease and hacking away at the unessential. I don't want to be on Instagram if I don't want to. I don't want to mess around on Twitter if I don't want to. If all my clients are on LinkedIn, you better believe I'm going to be there every day, going to my clients. And by the way, another thing I teach is finding those people and picking up the phone. And up until this year, all these branding people and inbound sales people said the phone is dead. Calling is dead. This has been a growth year for me because of the phone. Because people are home, they're picking up the phone, and just because it's a pandemic doesn't mean that people's needs disappear. If people have a need and you can find those people with the need and fill it, find them. I don't care if you have to go knock on their door or pick up the phone. You do that on a regular basis. That's what building an authority brand is all about.
I love those tips. What other things can you do, Curt, to really stand out in your industry?
Yeah, it's use your strengths. I know some people who I do a lot of video work. People are like, oh, they teach me how to do video. And then after a couple of things, it's like, you're not a video person. You know, there's some people, they do a video, no matter how hard they try, it looks like a hostage video. You might be a great writer. Use what comes naturally to you and use your strengths. I just interviewed someone on my podcast. Her name's Leslie Zane, and she actually gets down deep in branding from a subconscious level versus conscious level. And she actually said a lot of people are so focused on being unique, and consumers have all this conditioning in their head. That's why before the pandemic, like Instacart really didn't take off. It was a different behavior. And to get people to do a different behavior took a pandemic to get them to do that, right? It took horrible, horrible taxi service to get Uber to catch on, right? And even then, the government tried to get rid of them. The key isn't being uniqueness right off the bat, having distinctiveness, but within the air of familiarity. So a lot of people try to sell, I'm different than everyone in the world, come to me. That scares a lot of people. A lot of people don't want that. So they want a bit of familiarity. So you can do that, but be distinctive. And when I say distinctive, are logos important? Sure. Are there people who stop? My beard used to be 3 times as big. Or did I know that there were people who stopped scrolling on LinkedIn because they saw Curt Mercadante with a huge Santa beard doing a video? Yes. But that got me likes and views. It didn't seal the deal. Go with what you do best. If you throw a fastball and that's how you strike people out, and that's your out pitch, you know, especially in a year like this, you throw that fastball the best way it is, and you throw it toward your ideal clients. Don't worry about, hey, that person has a curveball over there, and my gosh, he's getting all the press and he's getting whatever. If he's not making money doing it, you can make money throwing your fastball. You throw that fastball, you keep throwing it. You find out where your clients are. Even if it's not sexy, a brand doesn't have to be sexy. It's got to be profitable. That's how I measure what an effective brand is. I can't hear you.
Hit the mute button. My dog's barking. I didn't want everybody to
yeah.
You know, I was working from home, Curt.
Oh, yeah. Yes. My kids may walk in at any moment here, but they've learned to be quiet.
I know my kids I worked from home for a long time. So my kids have kind of got conditioned for that. My dogs, though, not so much, but I'm working on that. We'll see what we can do.
Everyone's used to it nowadays. You know, it's like the tolerance level, and people who aren't tolerant of it, it's like, come on, man.
It's actually really nice because I've worked from home for a long time, and I used to go in the office some days. Now that everybody is, I can constantly I don't have to hide it. I can just tell people, yeah, I'm working from home. The dogs are barking. They're like, yeah, me too, man. I understand. As their kids naked in the background running behind them. I'm like, yeah, you get it.
I'm doing keynotes now. You know, I did a keynote a month ago in the Cayman Islands from a Comfort Inn and Suites in Blue Ridge, Georgia, because we had horrible internet at the Airbnb. I rented it for a half day for $75, like the meeting room. So I was actually at a lectern with 40 seats. They were completely empty, speaking to an audience in Blue Ridge. And, you know, it's like, get it done. That's part of, like, this year, building your brand. It's like, what do people want? Give them what they want. Throw your fastball, whatever it takes to get there. That's how you adapt and thrive, you know?
I love it. How about your authority message? How do you really clarify what your kind of message is and what your authority message really is?
Always start with the who, start with the people. You know, I worked in politics. I worked in public affairs. I remember this one thing, and I was like 24, and we had to get a power plant put in the suburbs of Chicago. People don't like that. You know, there's the NIMBYs and whatever. And if I was living there too, I wouldn't want the power plant. And so our client had an idea of what everyone needed. Here's what they want. And here's what we have to tell those people. And I was like, well, why don't we go ask the people? So I actually went and I actually knocked on doors in the neighborhoods. I had listening sessions. Some people were very mad, but you know what? When they calmed down, when I didn't respond to them or react, and I just listened, I said, thank you. And then I went back to my client and I said, what you think they want is completely wrong. Let's listen to them. We got that sucker built because we listened to them. We found out what they wanted. Any business owner can do that. There are people who spend months or a year putting together the perfect product offering. You know, they're going to be a coach. And my gosh, and they have the perfect product offering, and then they go to bed and they wake up and they have a better idea. And so now they're going to keep massaging it. I said, what happens when you've spent a year making no money, building the perfect product to release it and find out that no one wants it? So start with the who, work backward from there. What do people need? Find out what they need, communicate to what they want, So my personal trainer, but I have a bookkeeping client. He's got a big bookkeeping company. You know what he found out the impact story is by talking to his clients from married, like family-owned businesses, he saves marriages. Now, how does he save marriages? You have two spouses at the top of the company. One does bookkeeping, one does operations. Hey, honey, I got to hire 3 people. Can I see the P&L? No, I'm 3 weeks behind. Boom, marital argument. And he's like, yeah. So what he was selling was QuickBooks and Excel and whatever. It's like the name of your company has bookkeeper in it. They already know you do that. Stop telling them what you do. Tell them the impact you provide them. And really, one of the most important things is when I get on the phone with someone, if someone comes up to me, if we ever go to a networking event, I ask them what their challenges are. Your 2 ears are a greater branding weapon than your 2 lips. Because often we go into a conversation knowing I know what that person needs, and I'm going to sell it to them through brute force, and I'm going to give it to them. And what they want is something different. And if you had just listened, I had a CEO call me, and I thought he wanted my branding stuff. I also do some team engagement work, and I'm a Gallup Strengths Finder coach to help teams be more engaged and perform better. Well, he came in, and I thought he had come in for branding. And in my head, you go through the motions. Luckily, I didn't lead with that. I started off the conversation with saying, hey, as we head into 2021, what are 2-3 areas you'd like to improve on your team? Had nothing to do with branding. Had to do with team performance. If I hadn't have just asked him and shut up and listened and used my 2 ears, I would have missed the sale. I would round peg square hole. So I always urge people, just like ask people questions and then just shut up, and they'll give you the keys to the kingdom of everything they want. And then you can, assuming you provide that, you can connect the dots.
What do you think is so important that the messaging you put out there is consistent across all the channels that you're using?
It's so important because, listen, even just pick one channel. LinkedIn, which is my main channel of choice. You know, people aren't there to look at cat photos and grandkid photos and all that. They're there to do business. And then you get into LinkedIn Sales Navigator. They provide you all the business data on everyone's business. But there's 262 million active users on LinkedIn. Even if I had a viral post that reached 1 million people, there's still 261 million who haven't seen it. Now, even of the people who do see it, when I worked in politics for a while, and I assume it's probably even gotten worse with the noise and the multi-screen world we live in, it took 6 direct mail pieces to have a behavioral impact on one person. So campaigns would send it was better to send a small group of ideal voters 6 different mail pieces than to send 100,000 people 1 mail piece. Why? It takes a while for that message to embed, for it to condition in the consumer's brain. So message consistency is extremely important. And I get bored with my message sometimes because I say it day after day after day. There's always someone who hasn't seen it. There's also people who come to me who said, I've been watching you for 2 years. I wasn't ready 2 years ago. And then I caught up with your latest podcast and I was like, this is what I need. They weren't ready 2 years ago. They weren't in the buying window, and now they are. And I'm saying the same thing now as 2 years ago. Connected the dots and they became clients.
What about your value proposition? How do you really crystallize that?
Again, it goes back to what they want. Always start with what they want. You know, Steve Jobs he never liked to ship a perfect product. Why? Because he knew that the market and his consumers were the best judge of what they wanted. And so when he put it out, you would hear there's all these Apple fanboys and girls, and there's Apple blogs and all this. I wish the iPhone had this. I wish the iPhone had that. Okay, great. This is a real-time focus group. By the way, we're getting paid to have the focus group. That's why we can release the Apple II the next year and the Apple III the next year. But listen to what they want. If you have existing clients, go ask them, why did you hire me? What's the greatest impact you have from working with me? If you don't have existing clients, go talk to people who you think are in your ideal client persona and say, what's your biggest challenges right now related to X? So for me, it would be building your brand and selling more and generating more revenue. What are your biggest challenges? I would listen to them. Fortunately, I had existing clients that I went out to, and in this year, 2020, March and April and May were a little bit down months for me because everyone was uncertain and everything. I really went out to my clients and said, what's the maximum impact you get from me? And they told me. So what I did was all the excess stuff I did went away. And I said, this is my fastball. in a pandemic year, an uncertain year, I got to throw that fastball because I know everything else isn't making money and it might be distracting the clients. If they're paying for that fastball, I'm going to focus on that. And when I focus really on that fastball and get really good at it, then maybe I'll add a curveball, then I'll add a cutter, and so where a lot of people are, oh my God, it's the pandemic. I got to have 6 business lines now and today. From a message standpoint, you speak to everyone. When you speak to everyone, you speak to no one. From a business operation standpoint, you become more unproductive, right? I'm doing 10 things instead of one thing I do really well.
You talked about your ideal client. How do you figure out who that really is?
It's, it depends. If you have existing clients, I have my clients go out and make a list. Give me a spreadsheet of all your clients, what they're paying you. Great. Then I say, now I want you to go through and list everything that you offer those clients, that you're delivering to those clients. Great. So they go and do that. Okay. Now what? Now I want you to highlight every one of those clients that's a pain in the ass, doubts you, takes up more of your time than they get, than they're worth, than they pay you. Okay. They do that. That's really easy for them. Okay, great. Now let's really go. If I asked this of a guy who's in the insurance industry the other day, who was asking about this ideal client, he's like, but I have these 3 business lines and I make money on all of them. I said, okay, what's your record revenue month that you've had? And he said, oh yeah, it was X amount a month. Okay. That was over a 30-day period. If I told you that you absolutely need to beat that record revenue month, but you only have 10 days to do it, which business line would you check? He's like, oh, that's easy. I said, then that tells you something. That's your growth. The person who wants that business line that can get you to max revenue, your highest net revenue generating, the person who wants that is your ideal client. The person who treats you like a trusted advisor instead of a vendor is your ideal client. The person who doesn't try to call you at midnight and 5 a.m. and noon, and then when you give them advice, doubts you, they're not your ideal client. The people who want to maybe nickel and dime you and ask for discounts all the time, maybe they're not your ideal client. Those people you love working with, the people that if I had to choose 10 clients around which to grow my business or 2 clients, identify those people and that's it. Now that's good if you have existing clients. If you don't have existing clients, again, look at what you provide, who needs it. And some of it is make your best guesstimate based on what you think on who needs your product. When I launched my current company, this is my 3rd company, I had an ideal client and it was me. I thought that I was the ideal client. And I went out to market with my messaging. My first 10 clients in were completely different than my ideal client persona. Now I served them, I helped them, but then I said, you know what? I don't really love working with them. I'm not fulfilled working with them. So let me look at my messaging. Let me look at where the breakdown is happening between the words that leave my mouth, the words I'm putting on a page on social media, or what I'm saying when I call people. Why is it attracting those clients instead of the clients I want to work with? And then you can do it. Peter Drucker said, you can't manage what you don't measure. So I measure everything. Is my message bringing people in for conversations? If not, then my message sucks. Am I having a lot of conversations, but not leading to a lot of proposals? Then there's a breakdown with my conversations. Am I doing a lot of proposals, but not closing a lot of deals? Then the breakdown is somewhere in that part of the sales process. And I measure the heck out of all of it. So if you don't know that ideal client persona, you know what? Pick one that makes sense. Pick one of people who need what you offer. Go to market with it. And then, you know what? It's like in the old days, they had the cannons or what were they? The mortar fires. It's like you watch the war movies and you're like, how are they hitting anything? It's going straight up in the air. You know what they do? They would fire and they're like, all right, move it 10 feet to the right. Do that with your message too. If the people aren't coming in, you're not having conversations, obviously you're not hitting the right target. So move it from there. But, I'm a big fan of motion. If you don't know who your ideal client is, make your best estimated guess and just go to market. Speak to them, speak to what you think they want. And if they're not buying it, change the mortar fire. Move it 10 feet to the right, 10 feet to the left.
How do you target them? Once you get an idea of who they are, then what's the best way to get in front of just those people?
Yeah, it really depends on who they are and where they reside, right? Everyone will tell you, but everyone's on Facebook, but everyone's on Instagram. Well, maybe not everyone, and they're not the people who are most in need of your product aren't there to do business. I really favor LinkedIn because people are on LinkedIn to do business. And if they aren't there surfing LinkedIn, their data is on Sales Navigator, which is an upgrade from LinkedIn. So I teach my clients to use Sales Navigator. Once you build that ideal client, you can go to Sales Navigator and build a list of all those people and save the list. And it gives you their LinkedIn profile for about, I don't know, it depends on the person. Sometimes 50% of them gives you their phone number, it gives you their address, gives you their website. If it doesn't list their phone number, you go to their website and you find their phone. And so I teach a process where you connect with those people, they connect with you, then they're going to see your content. Anyone who connects with me on LinkedIn, the next day, I call. I pick up the phone and call. Anyone who connects with me on LinkedIn, I call the next day. They let me into their life. It is no longer a cold call. And they connect with me after seeing my profile, after seeing what I do. Now, some people don't remember connecting with me, but when I call, I'm not spammy. I'm not pushy. I'm not salesy. What I say is, hey, Ty, this is Curt Mercadante with Merc Enterprises. You and I just connected on LinkedIn. How are you doing today? You'd be like, well, that's new. No one calls me. I said, yeah, you know what? In this time of physical social distancing, I always like to just connect beyond the profile. Is now a good time? Oh, that's really cool. No one's ever done that before. Yeah, cool. Da, 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 da. How you faring in 2020? Well, I got these challenges, blah, 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 blah. Really? Well, you know, what I do is I help entrepreneurs like you. Let's say you're a financial advisor. I help financial advisors deliver the right message to the right clients to generate more revenue. Would it be worth 20 minutes to learn how I can help you? Yeah, that'd be great. Or sometimes, you know what? I'm not really ready for that, but I'll check out your content on LinkedIn. It's like a 4-minute call. Sometimes it leads to the second 20-minute call. Sometimes it just leads to a cool contact that now is going to check out my content on LinkedIn. That's what I do every day. I call 10 to 20 people every single day. And it comes from LinkedIn. I've gotten some clients from Twitter. If someone comes in my orbit, my goal is to connect them, find out who they are, get them to connect with me in somehow, and then call them the next day.
Do you think that's the best way to deliver the message? Or do you do a lot of posts on LinkedIn? Like, what's your strategy so they can really get to know your brand? How do you deliver your message to them besides that call?
Yeah. So if I connect with them as a first piece, I know I'm bringing them into LinkedIn. So now they're going to see my content. I post content every day on LinkedIn. Every morning, sometimes twice a day, I put out content on LinkedIn. Sometimes it's from my podcast. Sometimes it's from content that I'm putting out, but it always speaks. My content always speaks to that direct person. So now I've connected with them. They're going to see my content, but I also put a call in. Now, 90% of those people I call, now are voicemails. Now my voice is on their voicemail. I've made a personal connection. They may not call me back, but now they're seeing my content. So now what's happening is, oh, wow, I'm starting to build this surround sound strategy around them. I've differentiated myself from 99% of people by picking up the phone and calling them, which is much more personal than most people. A lot of people, what they do is they connect and they send you a LinkedIn message that's 4 paragraphs of spam that no one has time for. And you know what happens? LinkedIn messages, people don't check their messages a lot on LinkedIn. Sometimes you're checking a message. I get it, but I'm driving and I forget to ever come back to it. So you, as the business owner, are thinking that person hates me. They don't like me because they never respond to my LinkedIn message. Odds are they've never even seen it. If you put in a phone call, no matter what, they have your voice. They're making that connection. Then they see your content. Oh, then they see, oh, Ty's got a podcast. I'm going to go check out the podcast. Oh my God. Now you're hooked over here with the podcast. They're seeing your content. They have your voice on the voicemail, all that. Maybe you had a conversation with them. The key is when you have those first conversations, I'm not selling or pitching anything. I'm just calling them good old fashioned networking. And I've had two people that I can count in 6 months that were remotely condescending. That's it. Most people, especially this year, are like, and the way I go about it, I don't even tell them what I do. I don't give them a whatever. I just say, I'm calling to reach out. And I don't get into the friend zone because by the end I say, oh, would it be worth 20 minutes for you to hop on a call and learn how I can help you? Boom, 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 boom. And I let them opt in out. No, yes, no. And enough people are yeses that it's been a growth year. A lot of people voicemails and they'll text me back and say, hey, I got your voicemail. Thanks so much. I was in a meeting, blah, blah, blah. Great. I'll check out your content. Great. Now I know that person's more likely when I see the content, now I've made a personal connection. It's not, but it's not. I've gotten calls from people that are so salesy. I get so many horrible pitches. So I urge my clients, take that word pitch and throw it out. I was in PR for a long time. Don't pitch people. Have conversations with people and then fill a need if they have that need. But it always takes listening to those people. And that's what most of my calls are, listening post calls. They're not pitching, they're not salesy. And that's how I sell more, by not trying to sell, if that makes sense.
Kurt, this has been powerful today. Where can everybody go that's watching and listening to learn more?
I got free goodies for everyone listening today, and it's easier to spell and easier to do than my last name. So if you take out your smartphone right now and text the one word, authority, Y-O-U authority. It's like authority, but take off the A-U, replace it with Y-O-U, to the number 55678. You do that, what's going to happen is you're going to get a text back with a link. It's going to go to a landing page. So it's on my website. I have 3 free webinars. One is the 4 pillars of building an authority brand. Another webinar is how to level up your LinkedIn. And I have another one about how to use podcasts to build your brand. You can go there. You can learn all about me. Text authority to 55678. And it's a lot easier than having to spell Mercadante.
I love it, man. All right. Thank you again for coming on today.
Thanks a lot, Ty. Appreciate it.
So everybody, look, I wish I knew the quote, but there's somebody out there that really says that advertising is the price you pay for having a bad brand. Kurt, do you know that? What is that quote? Do you know?
I don't know.
I got to figure that out.
I've heard it before. Yeah.
It's a good one we're talking about today.
It is.
I always love that quote because it's brilliant, because it really says that when you're out there spending money to bring people in, it's really because you haven't done the right things to be able to establish a brand. And it's interesting. I was watching this documentary on Elon Musk, and I forget that Tesla doesn't spend a dime of money on advertising. Not a dime. Do you know who Tesla is? I do. Almost all of us do. And they don't even spend any money on advertisement. So it just goes to show we can go on and on and on with hundreds of thousands of examples of companies that build big brands, not just these big ones, but even small startup companies that are doing the right thing to build their brand. And when you do this the right way, you can grow with such huge profit margins because you're not taking all your money and pouring into advertising in black holes like Facebook. Right. So it all really comes down to building that company's brand authority. Curt gave us a lot of tips today on how to do this, but let's be honest, we have limited time. So what I want you to do now is I want you to text the word "you authority" to the number 55678. That's "you authority," Y-O-U authority, to 55678. You're going to get 3 full webinars from Curt. They give a ton of details on exactly how you can do this, so you can get started on the right path, start building your company's brand authority, and start bringing in a lot of customers into your world without having to spend all the money that a lot of people do to try to get those customers. So make sure you text "you authority" to 55678 to access your free 3 webinars. Thanks.
It's just you authority. There's no in the middle. Yeah, just you authority.
Didn't I? Added an A, and I even had it written down the right way. My brain just added the A.
Yeah,
it just said A.
I've done it.
So let me start over. You authority, not A. So it's Y-O-U-T-H-O-R-I-T-Y. You authority. So text the word "you authority" to 55678. That's Y-O-U-T-H-O-R-I-T-Y. You authority to 55678. If I confused you, go to the show resources page. You can find Curt's podcast at creditsuite.com/podcast. And there you will see this in the show resources page. So again, that's the word "you," Y-O-U authority, T-H-O-R-I-T-Y, to 55678. Text that right now to access your free 3 webinars. Thanks, and have a great day.